Hello, everyone. Welcome to Venture Starters. And today we are doing wildfire. It's going to be a big day. My husband Mark is under the weather. He is not feeling well. He is in the room, but he's got a toothache. So um, Bobby and Claudia are going to be hosting this event. We have a few of our regular Venture Starters people here, but today we are not pitching regular people. This is for just the wildfire people, which have been invited by Bobby and Claudia. So they will be calling their own people in, and please just sit and enjoy the show. Go right ahead, Bobby. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Phenomenal. And just wanted to welcome all of you. We're here for the purpose of having our global community and local communities have better combinations of innovations and approaches that include nature-based solutions and other kinds of imaginative approaches to wildfire prevention. And we're bringing these folks together because getting a critical mass of perspective on them, attention on them, can help us in each community address the gap in social innovations to get ahead of wildfire risk in each air basin, fire basin, and water basin. And so we have been through crowd doing Catastrophic Wildfire Prevention Consortium in collaboration with Venture Starters, convening innovators that we have then been curating with this extraordinary committee of expert colleagues who you're going to meet in a moment. And we're going to be having a chance for folks to learn more about some social innovations that have been curated for their uniqueness of potential that could help us to have more agency against wildfire risk and catastrophic wildfire risk in the spirit of resilience and getting to a bright future for all. In that spirit, let me hand over to Claudia, our co-lead of Catastrophic Wildfire Prevention Global.
Great. Welcome, everyone. We're thrilled to be here. I want to thank Norma and Mark again. We couldn't be doing this without you and amazing support. And Bobby, thank you for holding that vision and getting us all rallied around that. Yeah, and thank you to our internal operating team who have just been doing all the infrastructure and stuff. And then also to our expert team, which I'm going to introduce in a minute. And so, okay, so let me show a presentation. We'll give you the run of show and everything like that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we're good to go. So here we are for the Wildfire Innovation Showcase. This is our third one. Very exciting. We have a great cast here. And you just heard some of the introductions from Norma. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our Catastrophic Wildfire Prevention Consortium, as we call CWPC for short. Yeah. And we're going to go into then the presentations. And then given time, we usually run into the 2 hours. If you guys want, we can stay after and talk, and then we'll wrap up. All right. And here we are. We're the Catastrophic Wildfire Prevention Consortium. And Bobby, did you want to cover a couple of these slides and anything you want to add to this?
Sure. So this is the Deschutes example. This is where a federal historic program got a combination of approaches, including rehydration of the landscape and fuel load reduction, to create a net reduction in both the fire spreading and the consequences of that for community. And so this idea that you can combine multiple approaches that have different theories of change and different pathways, mechanisms of action that are synergistic to achieve a net reduction of harm for community is one of the reasons why we want to bring together innovators from multiple parts of the wildfire sector to be considered by community together. Please proceed. Next slide, if you want. So this is about the proportionality of for every part that we can reduce the exposure of PM 2.5, per capita, there's a corresponding reduction in disease. You can see this in terms of the data that we've gathered from Spain and Portugal and Australia to show how much PM 2.5 reduction prevents how many emergency room visits and deaths and disabilities. And so that goes for us collectively in each region. So, for example, Southern California, what would it take to get a 50% net reduction in air pollution for each stakeholder in those communities? And what would be needed in terms of all the social innovations that we've shared over the months here and years here in context in order to get to that? And we think that it's possible to work backwards from such a bright future with regards to catastrophic wildfire, health risk, and risk to the more than human world and biodiversity and each other. Please go.
Thank you so much, Bobby. And thank you for always holding this vision and our mission and gathering all the folks. And just in light of all this information, last time the fires were still going in LA, and now there's in a state of recovery. And this photo is really symbolic. It's one thing that it's terrible enough to lose your house, to be, to have to evacuate and all that and go back. But there's also this long-term effect of, toxicity in the air, in the land, in the water, and this ongoing part. There's so many ramifications, and that is just part of why we're here, because we want to prevent this. And so this is a picture from the satellites of Altadena. And, here you are one day, things look pretty good, you're going through your daily life, but, you think everything's fine and it looks good, but next thing you know, it's coming up. Yeah, and next thing you know, it's all gone. And so, but, we talk about the current, but there is a possible future of thriving. How do we go from surviving to thriving? And that's why we're all here, because we know that it's possible, and we're committed to taking the actions and working together to doing it. Right? Bobby talked about the combination of with Deschutes, but so we call it synergistic innovation. And the idea is that all of these things together, and this slide is busy and it is complex. There are many solutions and things that need to happen. And it's not one thing. So there's no silver bullet that's going to make it happen. But if you do them all together in the right combination for the right community, then there's a really large return on investment in prevention. And I think putting our efforts into that versus the post factor is where we need to be. I think I'm preaching to the choir here. So at CWPC, we have a wildfire nexus ecosystem. We're already international, and we build everything around the communities and around the partners who service that, all the multi-stakeholders. This is just one view of entities, government, business, academia, associations. But today we have investors, innovators, and it's all based on Earth, because we have to harmoniously, live within our Earth as well. And so we can't forget that part. So I'm going to move along here. I'm going to talk about two main programs and then some ways to get involved. I'm going to highlight, we've already started talking about our consortium. We are, across the globe, and we also have, what was I going to say here? So this is a database of which we actually have now. We'll be releasing this pretty soon, but you can see this is not all the innovators and the people that we have. This thing's going to get huge, right? But it's already international. And some of the logos are the people that have presented or presenting. Here is our expert panel. We want to make sure to introduce them today. We have specifically these guys who have been working with us so long and so often. And they're here to help us ask questions to the presenters today, to the innovators. So David's here, David Savarese is here, Catherine Linden Pronto, and Josh Wilkins. Can't thank them enough for all that they do. They've gone out and curated, helped to make sure the caliber that we have here today. So, we are cross-industry. We've developing communities of practice, and we've even done grant applications. Ivan's here. He was part of that. And we want to now also do more demo opportunities in the earlier phase and also the later phase of funding. And we have meetings every Wednesday. So please come. You'll see in the chat, you're going to have some opportunities to click on to present and to sign up and to, come to meetings and things like that to answer their surveys. So that's really good. I'll try to speed up. I think I want to make sure we get to the presenters. But another thing we do is we work in the community and we have these tools and pilots. And so we have this community wildfire resilience scorecard. It's one of our strongest tools and to go out into the communities. And so this next month, we are really looking to go out and work with more communities on this. So if you know some communities that would like to use us, let me tell you a little more. It's 120 questions, can have a short version of 30, and it follows the 10 essentials of the United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction Group. And we partnered with Arise US, which was on the last slide. This is a very comprehensive set of questions, way more than typically done. It's meant to augment the existing CWPPs and other tools like FEMA hazard plans. And you get a score. You can get your baselines. You can monitor it over time. But in the end, it helps empower communities, helps them assess the risk, boost their preparedness, and expedite recovery. Aldercroft is our first pilot that we spent a lot of time there, and it's in a very high-risk area, and it has no way out. Like, they don't have an emergency exit. So one of the great things that happened is they really had no money and no plan. We worked with them, Tammy Schwartz, and Ivan actually, again, was on this, and here we are. They ended up, because of the planning that we did and a lot of events and a lot of work, that helped them catalyze them to be part of a $6.3 million watershed grant, one of the largest in California. And they went from a squeaky wheel to the darlings of the community. And they now have a seat in the county fire safe community. So it's a big deal. And one of the guys in here is Gilberto De Salvo. And what's important here is because of the introductions that he came to meet the community, he was able to early test and pilot his early detection products. And so we want to do more of this. This is an opportunity here as well. And then we also do some grants. And so there's an opportunity here. We worked with CAL FIRE very closely, Fire Safe Councils, the communities, Mid-Penn. And you can see here, here's Madronas and Wooey and all the people that Guidewire and that we put together to do this grant. Okay, so we would love it if we're going to start doing small funding donations soon, and we have a sponsor program, and so there's an opportunity to get to meet the innovators here to be able to promote in this event, and also in the community actions that we'll be doing. And then also, we'd love to collaborate with people if you have communities or do pilot testing and strategic planning. And we have tons of volunteers. Okay. There we go. So thank you, team, our internal team. Here we go for the lineup for today. This is all the companies. We'll introduce them. They'll introduce themselves. And so I'll introduce you guys, and then we'll have questions for everybody. This was all of us meeting yesterday, so that's a benefit here. And then there's the funding stages today. Every time we show this, and this is the distribution today, you can see the companies and then the different technologies there also as well. All right, so each one is going to be 5 minutes to present and up to 3 to 5 minutes of questions, you guys. So we'll keep it tight. I know I've taken a lot of time here, so thank you for your attention. And use the chat for communicating, for connecting, and watch the chat for ways to interact with us. All right, we are here. I want to introduce Ivan O'Neill. He is the co-founder of WUI. Take it away, Ivan.
Thank you, Claudia, and great to be with you all today. I'm Ivan. I'm the co-founder CEO here at WUI, and I was told up front to give our asks. So we're looking to meet with mission-aligned investors who to fund our seed round, and we've got about 20% of that already funded. So looking forward to meeting the rest of you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So we exist, so we're WUI. We make risk management SaaS for the new climate era. And we exist because we're really tired of seeing images like this one, which was taken about 3 miles from where I live here in Sonoma County. And unfortunately, in the 7 years since that tragedy, the problem's only gotten worse. With climate change, research suggests that as many as 1 in 5 US homes is at risk of being in a wildfire over the next 30 years. And it's not just a problem here in California. We see time and time again in Texas, Alberta, New Mexico, Hawaii, Tennessee, and Colorado that wildfires can happen almost anywhere at any time in North America and result in billion-dollar loss events for the insurance industry. The good news here is that science shows mitigation can reduce risk up to 75%. This doesn't have to be our future. And with a series of changes to the built environment and landscaping, we can have a dramatic impact on the outcome and lower the severity and cost to the insurance industry and to our communities. When we got started, nothing else existed out there as far as how do we go at the pace and scale. Insurance companies were using outdated technology and paper forms oftentimes, and putting boots on the ground in front of every home is an almost impossible task. So we set out to simplify this. We worked with top fire officials and building scientists to create an app that you see here that enables a property owner to self-inspect in less than 10 minutes. So works offline, guides them through the process, and we prevent fraud by doing a direct capture. We then analyze this we pull out all actors on a property that we've trained the AI trained technicians across the state and millions of data points. And from there, we provide the property owner with a beautiful interactive report that outlines exactly what they need to do in order to get insurance coverage or to renew their policy or to qualify for premium discounts that are now mandated in California. We also connect them with a vetted contractor network to help them get the work done and then verify it all at the end. So we've been in market for over 2.5 years, and we're partners with the IBHS Wildfire Prepared Home Program. We've integrated our backends, and our inspector network is the preferred priority inspection provider statewide in California. This standard is recognized by 55% of insurers in California and is expanding nationally. And our results show that when property owners have access to WUI and the vetted contractor network, they succeed at 5 times the rate of when they attempt to do it on their own. And this is really appealing to insurers. We just launched our first top 5 California admitted insurer earlier this month, and they're engaging all of their policyholders in California around how do they prepare their homes from wildfires. We're a proven platform with millions of data points collected. We cover the entire US and are ready to expand internationally when that opportunity arises. And we've been able to verify millions of dollars of mitigation work. And we've been recognized by several insurance technology consortium and leaders for our innovative work here. We make money by working with insurers to engage with their policyholders. There's SaaS fees, usage fees, and mitigation fees. And our team has decades of experience in wildfire, consumer technology, AI, and insurance. And you can see some of our team members here and our great network of advisors that help us do better here. So in closing, I look forward to working with you all so that we create success stories like this one. And I look forward to talking with you all.
Thank you, Ivan.
That is excellent to be able to hear, and I want to see if we can turn to our panel and see if we would have feedback or questions, comments from Lyndon to start, if you wish. If you want to weave in any intros additionally into that process, we can do that. But go ahead, Lyndon, and thank you so much, Ivan, for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Exciting stuff. I was just kind of curious how far you've been able to expand, how many different customers you have. Are they mostly just residential customers, or do you have also larger businesses or other, types of installations that are using your technology already, or where are you on that front?
Yeah, so we've done work on thousands of properties in California. We have a number of B2B software licensees that are using our software with their communities. And I mentioned the first insurer that has deployed. Our software works on really any type of perils, so wildfires where we're started, but we could easily expand to hazard trees, wind, severe convective storms. And we do work across residential and commercial product lines.
Thank you, Lyndon. Did you want to ask further on that, or if not, we can go to Josh and David.
A quick follow-up. Have you thought about exploring gaining access to like street view data for instance, mapping ladder fuels along county roads, or other kind of broader, in terms of the access to information that we have out there from, just Google, for instance. I think it'd be super cool to somehow, expand to also, public spaces, for instance. Has that been thought about or explored yet?
The commercial terms around Google's API make a lot of that challenging, but our AI works on a variety of different types of imagery. So we use aerial imagery, fixed wing aircraft, and ground truth imagery from a variety of sources.
Cool, thanks. Happy to chat further after.
Perfect. Josh, would you like to go next, and then David Savarese after that? Go ahead, Josh. Warm welcome. Thank you so much, Lyndon. Thank you so much.
Hey, Ivan. Yeah, I was curious on the any educational piece in your software as far as for the residents. Is there a way to communicate what they're looking at as far as the data on, say their phone or whatever they're acquiring it with, in helping them understand why that tree or why that fence could be a hazard? I'm curious on that.
Yeah, I skipped over that in the short amount of time that we have, but there's a section in the report that explains why each of the risk factors that was found is important to them. And then we have resources and knowledge base that we link to if they want to go deeper.
Awesome. Okay, because that is definitely one of the biggest problems, is getting the majority of folks to understand the context of why that fence is now a problem, where it used to be, for 30 years, it's been just fine. So that's a good, I'm glad you guys tied that in. Another one is do you have any asks specifically for this group? You got a mix of just about everybody, from angel investors, you name it. Is there any ask for this group that you might have, as far as, are you seeking funding, in need of expertise, hiring in any way, anything like that?
I would say our number one ask right now is for introductions to investors that are mission aligned and want to see this work happen in our communities.
Awesome. And just on a selfish note, do you have any plans on or expanded in Idaho yet?
We work anywhere in the United States easily.
Awesome. Well, that's even better because it is like Chief Kim Zagaris just pointed out in the chat. It is a nationwide problem. So, all right, thank you.
I was curious, Ivan, do you have any plans for any international expansion?
Short answer is yes.
Cognizant of time, should we go very briefly to David Severis and then make that the last question? Go ahead, David.
Sorry to spring a question on you. If I do ask any other questions to others today, it'll be along similar lines. My name's David Severis. I'm an urban planner and environmental manager at a large engineering company, Jacobs Engineering, and we're 45,000 strong. And as a result of that, our structure is one where I inherit a lot of the technologies that get invested in during opportunities like today. When you speak about growth, I'm interested in where you think the market is today and where you think it's going, really what the opportunities that you're ready to tackle are immediately and the ones that you're interested in addressing next. So similar to the question that Claudia just asked, but just kind of wondering where to next.
For us, in our context, property insurers in the Western US have about 5.3 million structures that need to be mitigated. And over the next decade, that'll expand to about 58 million, or excuse me, 49 million across the continental US. So we're focused on the Western states. California has the majority of that. We'll work with insurers to roll out and prove it out, and then we'll start to expand.
Thank you so much, Ivan. Thank you so much to our panel, David and Josh, and for taking the time off for this. Let me turn to Claudia for the next part of our agenda, but grateful that we've had a chance to create a highlight for folks in the important work that Ivan's been up to in this regard with his team.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quick, thank you, David Favarisi, for introducing yourself. And I think it'd be great if Josh, Lynn, and the other folks who are going to be talking, please introduce yourselves as well. Just real quick. Is it sharing? Hold on. Just one sec. There we go. So the next person we have to present is Sean Burns. He's the business development and strategic growth person at Box Power. So thank you. Excuse me. Thanks, Sean.
Oh, you want me to jump in?
Yes, please do.
Okay, I'll share my stress. And thanks for the introduction and for the opportunity to be here. Yeah, my name is Sean Burns. I head up business development and strategic growth here at Box Power. We are a microgrid developer or energy solution developer, and we've been around for about a decade. Got our start with developing rapidly deployable small, and I'll show you pictures, better pictures here in a minute of some of our solutions, but smaller generator alternatives that are solar, battery, and some fuel generation. And we've disaster recovery was kind of the first foray into this world, but we're based in Northern California, and much as what has been discussed already, we've lived through the wildfires. We have since taken our technology and been working with the IOUs in the western states to integrate it into their distribution system as alternatives to undergrounding or overhead conducting for equivalent risk reduction. And that has been our primary bread and butter work over the last several years. And as also been pointed out, it's a problem that's extending across the U.S. It's no longer just a Western IOU or Western states problem. It's a nationwide, and it's not just wildfires. It's also hurricanes and other types of climate-related, impacts to our energy systems. And I should have started with this, our ask. Why are we here? Why are we're out for our Series B right now, so we're looking for mission-aligned growth capital to help us, take what we've already been able to prove with the IOUs and expand both, nationwide, further east, up into Canada, and then across applications into other. We have governments, we've got IOUs, we've got some co-ops. So we have a good representative example, or a lot of examples of projects that we've done, and obviously looking for partners and some co-development of projects. So given the diversity of folks on the call here, I think there's lots of opportunity where we could, the text, we like to call it the tech stack, the resilience tech stack. So when you think about partnership, we are one component of any entity's resiliency or risk mitigation strategy. The energy solutions, by being able to create resiliency by putting in place solar, battery, or fuel generation as alternatives or as backups, and other systems in place, we can help prevent, and then also be the response or the rebuild after a tragic event like what has happened in LA. And we're trying to get ahead of it, be more on the preventative side than the reactive side. So we don't have as much reactive side, but long and short of it, that's where we work with like I mentioned, our primary customer are the IOUs, but we are working with governments, municipal, states, and co-ops, and all the various entities. And this is the front of the meter solutions where the utility owns it, or behind the meter solutions where we're augmenting what might be already on site with a hospital, a school, or what have you. I mentioned the solutions that we have. We are basically a system integrator right now. We have some custom solutions and software that we've built, and predominantly the two solutions on the right of the screen, the nanogrid and the remote grid, are the two, well, what we've kind of trademarked or branded our own, and they're containerized solutions. The nanogrid is what I mentioned early on, is our emergency response, rapidly deployable, can be rolled out and set up in a matter of a couple hours for to power one single home or a couple smaller homes. The remote grid configuration is more meant to be a primary service or an alternative backup solution that's integrated for energy. You can see it's much larger in terms of scale size. It's a 20-foot shipping container. There's a version that where the solar mounts on top of the container as well, but it's extensible. It's a platform that we've rolled out and have implemented with the likes of PG&E, SCE, Liberty Utilities, etc. And then the third category of energy solutions are traditional, more microgrids. You think of like integrating a battery, a lithium-ion battery at a community, carport solar. We call these more of our custom projects. These are typically pretty large, significant engineering endeavors, but it shows the range of the solutions that we're working on today. I have a couple examples that I'll just quickly skip through here. Talk about the types of applications that we have been supporting within the wildfire mitigation. And with Liberty Utilities, there's a Berkeley-owned facility that they service as a customer here in Truckee. And the problem that they were facing with this particular line, it's a long feeder that goes through the high wildfire risk area of their territory. It's one customer at the end of that line, so it's really high cost to serve, high risk, and they were, considering basically had to do something about it. Undergrounding or overhead conductoring were the two options they were considering, and we, were able to get into the conversation early to offer the remote grid as a cost-effective alternative to either of those situations. And in this particular configuration, it's seasonally de-energized, so they de-energize the line to the facility during the highest wildfire season, so April to October, November, sometime in there, and then they will turn the power back on The power is the backup energy source though. So what you see in the screen in the picture is actually primary service 100% of the year. But when the solar production is low, it obviously, we were able to minimize the generator runtime and really, pull from the grid, making it, allowing us to get to the 97% renewable fraction, and keep that facility up and running 100% of the time. It's also a PSPS avoidance. It allows them to avoid the PSPS events when those do get called when they happen over the winter time. Brightsburg was actually the first remote grid configuration, 100% islanded, that we built with PG&E. It's a pretty large system, serves 5 homes near Yosemite. This was in response to a rebuild though. This got the program started with PG&E, where we'll have 20 in service at the end of next year, and they are 100% islanded. And I think we're really proud of the fact that we have been maintaining like 5.9 uptime, which is essentially data center grade uptime reliability for this system, across our fleet that we have deployed. And then the last example here is just one of our larger examples of critical infrastructure, where there was an existing underground line that has failed for an SCE customer, that has critical infrastructures, FAA telecommunications, City of LA. Like there's a lot of different customers have their communications equipment at this particular site. It's been running on 3 diesel generators for 3 or 4 years now, and pretty ecologically sensitive area in the foothills surrounding LA County, and was on the cut. It almost was burnt down, unfortunately, with the LA fires. But long and short of it, that system will be live and this year as primary service. Pretty significant avoidance of the ecological impacts. And with that, I could go into a lot.
Acknowledge that we have some panelists who might have a question. Let me just see, David Green. Would you like to ask a question? We're having finite time, but very grateful to weave some questions in consideration. Thank you so much for sharing that presentation.
Trying to connect. This is David Green. I used to lead a wildfire program for NASA, and I'm working a lot now with insurance. Data centers. Appreciate you mentioned data center quality. Could you talk a little bit more about your application in those critical infrastructure market?
Yeah, right now we have been predominantly focused on the critical infrastructure that's communication towers being one of them, or facilities, not necessarily data centers. Data centers oftentimes need tens of megawatts or hundreds of megawatts of power and backup. We tend to stay on the sub 5 megawatt zone of battery or solar, and predominantly are connecting or replacing distribution assets.
Thank you so much. I want to see, Josh, if you wanted to ask the last question for this presenter, because we're running out of time before we have to get to the next one. But I wanted to see, Josh, if you had questions or comments on this one, and then we can proceed. But thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Sorry, I'm multitasking here. As far as your structures and everything else, I'm imagining that they're, for the most part, fire resistant, as far as the support buildings that might go with that solar panel array.
Yep.
And just basically ensuring it's not adding to the fuel, I guess you might say. So.
No, in fact, the PG&E and SCE have had it independently evaluated. It removes 97.7% of the risk. If you think about in their particular context, they have line miles through high, forested land or high fire, or even high wind areas in some of SCE's territory or SDG&E. And by removing those lines and poles, That's undergrounding is 100%, basically 100% risk reduction by removing the lines and poles and co-locating the energy generation and power next to the property or the end load. You basically are able to get almost near 100% reduction in risk. And then we are designing from everything's designed to be resistant and fire suppression systems, all the stuff there. And the critical infrastructure, back to the first question, is also we can design to risk category 4 if you're familiar with IBC standards, which is the highest. It's basically the highest standard of risk category.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much. Oh, go ahead, Josh. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Just really quick, what do you have any ask for this community as far as investments, needs, anything like that?
We're out for our Series B right now, so we're looking for mission aligned, growth of capital essentially to help us continue to expand and work with the utilities and other customers in integrating this in.
Thank you so much. I wanted to attune to Claudia if she has any question or comment before transitioning to the next of our presenters. But thank you so much, Sean, for sharing.
Yeah, I think I wanted to see if Lyndon did, since he brought Box Power in. Did you have any questions, Lyndon? Or are you good?
I mean, one thing is what I've seen a lot of companies be very successful by having kind of multiple solutions in their portfolio. And so I was kind of wondering how you guys do the clearance, if it's just like big scale clearance, or if you guys work together with another service provider, or have your own fleet of goats, or something else to do the maintenance around the installations. Because
That is a good question. We don't have a fleet of goats. I will add that to our roadmap though. Agrivoltaics, I think they call it these days. It is something we're thinking about. And long and short of it, we do have service partners for the O&M side of the equation, and they're regional. We do have some national partnerships, but a lot of regionals at the end of the day.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you very much, Lyndon, for also recommending this presentation. I think that there's so much potential in getting ahead of each dimension of wildfire risk. This is on the energy side that we have a subset of the risk generated there. We've researched and learned about other kinds of dimensions of wildfire risk that occur from different fractals of the collective challenge. But we have some other presenters that we also are going to need to attune to. So let me hand back over to Claudia.
Yeah, and I would say for another time, yeah, the goats are some of our, and other grazers are some of our best buddies here. So thanks for bringing that up, Lyndon. Okay, I'm going to share our next presenter. Here we go. Next up is Eamon Glass, co-founder and CEO of Maggie's Farm, and should be a fun one. All right, thanks so much. Did I get your name right, Eamon?
Yes, you did.
Oh, good. Thank you. Welcome. Let's stop sharing.
Hey, I'm Eamon Glass. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Maggie's Farm. We're a globally distributed video game studio headquartered in Vancouver, Canada. I am going to share my screen and jump into this right away because I have a billion slides to get through in 5 minutes. Our studio name is a tribute to the lifelong journey of reimagination, and we're creating Fire, a video game that reimagines how humanity combats wildfires. And we want you for partnerships and investment. I spent over a decade as a product director at EA, where I was a kid in a candy store working with amazing people on the most recognizable brands in the galaxy. Our family's been camping near Lytton, BC for 20 years, and I had a life experience that inspired me to think bigger. The town was a community hub for over 2,500 people. Our youngest daughter learned to play chess in the town square, and in 2021, Lytton was burned to the ground by wildfires. Our family returned in 2023. As I stared at the spot where my daughter learned to play chess, I was overcome by a sense of loss. That was replaced by an overwhelming sense of selfishness when I thought about families that we knew in the area that had lost everything. I thought about lives lost, whether people or animals, and the experience had an unexpectedly profound impact on me. I immersed myself into learning about wildfires. I began to understand the significance of the wildfire crisis But what fascinated me as a game maker is that fire is the only force of nature we fight back against. And I learned that when we battle wildfires, it's a combined arms operation where we deploy air, armor, and infantry assets. And our studio founders have made combined arms games that people play for decades. 20 years ago, I led Project Reality, an award-winning combined arms shooter that set player population records in 2024, 2 decades after launch. Another studio co-founder was the CEO of Offworld Industries. They developed Squad, a 10-year-old game that recently surpassed 6 million units and $130 million in revenue. My experience in Lytton, my love of combined arms games, made me think, what if we flipped that kill 'em all script? What if we made great combined arms games where you win by saving? So in 2023, we started to work on Fire. Our playtesters tell us that Fire is like Helldivers mixed with Power Wash Simulator. And those are 2 very different games for those of you that understand games. So out of that recipe for a peanut butter and chocolate experience was born Fire, a teamwork-focused, socially centric gaming experience for 1 to 4 players. It's a flying firefighter fantasy set in a 2035 world besieged by apocalyptic wildfires. You and your friends are elite wildland firefighters. You're equipped with adapted military weapons and emerging wildfire technology to win the war on fire. Our business model is premium plus recurring. In the video game industry, premium means that you have to pay for the game to play it, and our price range is in the $20 to $30 realm. We'll release on PC and console, a first public release in 2026, with a ratings target of everyone 10 plus so that families can enjoy the game together. Fire is a game about collective action against an existential threat. And while we ground Fire in a high-fidelity digital twin of nature, it's essential to remember that we're creating social entertainment for commercial purposes. However, Fire is a thought-provoking game that poses the question, what if we invested in climate action like we do military readiness? We want to bring your investments to life in our game. The visual language of Watch Duty to represent a mission interface. Fireswarm drones to represent an attack asset that players can call in. The mortar launchers of Fire Dome as a defense system players can deploy, or the incredible engineering of a burn bot as an asset that players can use to create fire breaks around built-up areas. We'll work with you to bring your innovations to life, fighting apocalyptic wildfires in our virtual world. We'll collaborate with you on PR and marketing opportunities. Video games are a rich storytelling medium. What it will cost you is time. We'll leverage the integration of advanced wildfire technology in our game to unlock other commercial and marketing opportunities. I'm going to shift my focus to investing in video games because we touched on the idea that we're looking for investment as well. The video game industry is in a state of transition. There have been almost 40,000 layoffs in the past 4 years. We're seeing game budgets approaching $1 billion and $100 million games failing at launch. To understand the industry ecosystem, I'm going to break it down by game category. On the small end of it, you've got what's called indie games. Solo developers or small teams, budgets under $1 million, and $5 to $15 game prices. In the middle, we have what we call AA, small but experienced teams, mid-sized budgets of $2 to $50 million and $20 to $50 games. And on the upper end of the spectrum, we have what we call AAA. These are blockbuster franchises, massive teams, huge budgets, and $60 to $100 or more priced games. Our game Fire sits somewhere in between indie and AA. From a demand perspective, what's been happening in the industry is that the breakout successes have been coming in the indie and AA categories. The AAA space has been suffering from stagnated innovation and derivative products. But on the investment front, it's not kept pace with this trend. Small indie projects are getting funded, and significant VC money is gravitating to the quote-unquote sure bets at the upper end of the spectrum. But what that's going to do to the supply is that video games take multiple years to develop. A lack of investment activity today is going to result in a shortage of great AA games in the next couple of years. And this gap represents a significant opportunity that we're going after. The available market is about 100 million people. Our obtainable market is 5 million. And over 2 years from launch, that translates to a $100 million opportunity. Our budget is $2.5 million US. We've invested $250,000 to date. We're raising $400K in pre-seed capital to buy 12 months of runway and get us to the launch of our public demo. We'll leverage that awareness to raise an additional $1.85 million, providing 18 months of runway to reach PC launch and self-sustaining revenue generation. We're Maggie's Farm. This game is fire. Check out our website, and we want you. We want to bring your wildfire innovations to life in our 2035 world. We want to pitch the opportunity to investors with greater detail. And we want to show the world what collective action against an existential threat looks like. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. I think that it's really wonderful to be able to imagine that the future of wildfire prevention innovations from across presenters here that we've seen in this container over recent months and over years previous could become part of how folks imagine the future through playing this wildfire prevention serious game. With that, let me see if we have folks who'd like to, from our expert panel, weave into this. David Severese, did you want to weave into this? I could imagine a serious game with real world simulation context, helping to have organizations large and small imagine how these things could be combined. What do you think
I'll just kind of fly a flag and say how important I think this is. I think your assessment is accurate. For a long time, I've worked on some significant large overseas programs with large client representation bodies, with groups of technical experts advising on program management and project management and task services and trade services. And there's a lot of frustration that you can kind of come forward and be, why can I understand my city's skylines game better than I can understand the realities that I'm contending with? So I'm really glad to hear that you're kind of getting into depth. You're not just making an indie thing, you're doing something with a little bit of meat to the bone. And I think it's a great idea, and I'm really glad to hear about it.
Thank you.
Let me see if Catherine, if you want to weave in at this point and question, comment.
Yes, so I hear you saying that you've already got some of these really good startups where their technology is going to be able to go in game, and you're asking for other startups to work with you to put their tech in game as well. Along with that, are you also able to have games which are localized? Somebody who's been working in Silicon Valley, working with startups around here for a number of years on these sorts of social entrepreneurship issues. Could a community like Aldecroft Heights or other ones, maybe not in the upcoming versions, but by 2027 or 2028, say, hey, we're going to have a Santa Cruz Mountains version of this? Is that possible?
Yeah, just one thing to be clear. We actually have not signed any agreements with those folks. I should have made that super clear. Those are folks that we're having discussions with at various different stages, or have, reached out to initiate discussions. The goal is to bring today's early stage innovations to life in a game, to imagine 10 years from now, this is going to be the way we deal with wildfire. So want to be clear that we haven't actually signed any formal agreements yet. As it relates to digital twinning parts of the current world, we're thoughtful and mindful about acting in poor taste, about representing a community that was burned to the ground, things of that nature. But it is set on planet Earth, and we do have the ability to do real world mapping, and we can create currently wildfires that are in between the 4,000 and 6,000 acre in size. So those things are definitely a possibility.
So much.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Catherine.
No, thank you, because I think you could have firefighters and others who see high-risk areas and saying, help people understand what it would look like, even if they don't name it as a particular city.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking.
I want to see if Josh would like to weave in at this point. Josh has, of course, worked with many social innovators in wildfire that I could imagine in a simulation of the future, some of those innovators might be wonderful fractals of the impact potential that you summoned to our attunement here. Josh, would you like to weave in at this point, if it's safe for you to do so?
I would love to, and thank you, Alan, for your presentation. This is something I see as extremely valuable to where we are right now. And as most folks know, our generations, the new generations coming up, they're all video gamers or they have, some interaction in that context. Unfortunately, most are doing war games or maybe something not relevant to, say, our current problem. And this is exciting to me because one, it brings context to the problem, which again, that's my mantra, is bringing context so we can make massive change. And at the same time, it's creating an entertaining way of learning about how fire interacts with the vegetation and how to try to save your village or town, on top of using some of these new and emerging technologies as the new game pieces or the tools. And that, so instead of an F-16 fighter or a new supercar or something like that, we're actually showing kids how these new technologies are potentially mitigating a lot of the issues that we're faced with now. So I love it, and especially it's the rating level as far as everybody, and it's a multiplayer, so it's interactive, and it gets people thinking, in a strategy as well. So I love this concept, and I really truly hope that we can see more of social innovations in the gaming space like this.
So do I.
I love that. Let me weave in, Lyndon, if you wish, feedback on what you're seeing or questions here.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually recently concluded a review of serious games on Wildfire for the Director General for European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations.
Wow.
So there is at high levels an interest in this area. So I think we could have a lot to talk about, outside of this meeting. But a couple of questions and points would be: one is we have this fire paradox, and we're slipping, unfortunately, back on the one hand, back into this paradigm of war on fire. That's how we fought fire over 100 years ago, and too aggressively, and that's why we have the issues that we have in most places around the world, and most accentuated in the Western US. So I was wondering if you guys have other levels, maps, features there where it's less about this, this classical war on fire approach and more of a let's explore the solutions to holistic landscapes, fire resilient landscapes. And I'm wondering if you have thought about different maps with different types of ecosystems which have completely different fire problems and challenges, and whether you're aware of the UNISDR or UNDRR now disaster game, which gives some of those parameters for directly preparing for a fire and having it come through. I mean, it's quite, compared to what the caliber you're working with, this was quite limited budget of a game, but that's one, as far as fire goes, that's one of the better
if you wanted to
platforms out
comment
there.
on that, that's great. And if not, I heard the end of what Lyndon shared. If we want to go to include David Green as well in weaving in, but I thought what Lyndon shared is phenomenal. It sounds like there would be a lot to speak about. But Eamon, did you want to react on that? And then
I think that Lyndon made some excellent points. I'll just try and touch on, I think, what's the most salient there is about the war on fire concept. And it works in this context of like a video game, but we're keenly aware, and we have some advisors as part of our team that are fire scientists, some indigenous fire scientists that understand the importance of land stewardship. And we will weave in this concept that, for example, a managed forest is going to be an easier difficulty level for players than an unmanaged forest. And what is a managed forest? And the idea in the context here is people don't play video games to learn or be preached to for the most part, but we can trick them into learning some things. That a managed forest is something that has had the underbrush cleared. There's defended WUI areas that maybe have the mortar launchers and those kind of things, and start to trick people into learning about it. So I do understand that the war on fire and, fires out by 10:30 has contributed to where we're at, but it works in this context of like invoking interest, but within the game itself, we're conscious of being thoughtful and holistic about ecosystem management and how we can communicate that to players.
I think this is terrific, and I'd welcome in our Wednesdays, where we have regular Wednesday convenings, to create more space to look at each innovation that could fit into such a serious game, because real world data on real world impact potential is a great place to bridge. David Green, did you want to weave in as a last commentator, and then we'll go see if Claudia has final threads before the next presenter given time, but going to David Green if you wish.
Thank you. Hope you can hear me because I'm driving.
I can, yeah.
So I really like where you're going with this. I've really wanted to see this game approach with the idea that people can start to ask the question of what does winning the game look like? And building a little bit on what you were saying, and Lyndon, I think that idea here is this is a really interesting example where people can the fire community said, they want to learn new things, but they want to do it in an enjoyable way. Others have said, how do I change people's minds? What does success look like? And I think the idea of winning a game where maybe you win by putting out the fire, in other cases, you win the game by having a sustainable landscape, or you save a building. And I think there haven't been very many examples. So I think your game has a very wide audience when you think about who would benefit from learning, what does it mean to win the game? So I'm focusing on that. And so I think moving forward with that opens up your market to a whole bunch of people who could benefit from playing it, from those who want to learn to those who want to understand what buying a new mitigation asset might be. The other question I had for you is there a version of this that's going to take advantage of mixed reality or virtual reality?
Two great questions. I'll touch on the last one first, very simple one. We are not currently planning to make a commercial version of this available in VR. There's nothing stopping using the technology we build to be adapted to VR if there was a business case for it. With respect to winning, one of our strong suits as game designers is making infinitely replayable games. So this is not a finite game where I play it for 20 hours and win and I'm done. This is a game that we intend to be being played for 10 or more years, as are the other games that we've created. So winning is not really in the finite sense. You progress through, you get better stuff, but it's really driven by the sense that the game is fun enough to keep playing it after the game has quote unquote ended. And as that relates to what does winning mean, we may look to things like community challenges where it's like you need to save 1 million hectares in North America this week. And whatever those things start to look like, where instead of, current games are like, kill 1 million robots on planet X. What we want to say is, rescue 1,000 endangered species in New Zealand this week, and shifted into those kind of win by saving paradigms. But win is for us just a state, not an end game. Did that answer your question, David?
Great. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Claudia, did you want to ask any question or comment before we go to the next?
I do, but I think we're long on time, so I'm gonna pass and get to the next one. Even though
Thank you so much.
Spectacular, very excited. What a crew we have today. Let's say who's up next. We have Amir Soleimani, CEO and co-founder of Tree Track. So thank you so much, Amir.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Well, perfect. Yeah, I'm calling from the field, Vancouver Island, Port Hardy, in the middle of a project restoration. And yeah, just excited. Let me share my screen. Starting, yeah. There you go. Can you see my screen well?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Looks great.
Amir, the CEO and co-founder of Tree Track. And here in Tree Track, we're not just planting trees, and we make sure those trees are growing. As this conversation, you all know a wildfire is around, and we're all behind for reforestation. Here in Canada, at least 300,000 hectares we're behind. And the solution introduced for aerial seeding, they got the seeds and they thought it's going to be simple, pick the seeds, with airplane and choppers. But the results weren't there because the seed pod production wasn't there, and also the placement. And most of the places, as you see back there, it's not suitable for human panthers. It's not safe, and human panthers are not able to go there. So because we have more intense wildfire, the seed bank will be gone, and you won't see natural region, what we see here behind me. So what we have here, we solved that problem. First of all, we made a seed pod, and it's patent pending. I do have one here. We drop these seed pods. It's a single seed in the center, and we can turn any seeds to seed pod. And then we develop a dispersal mechanism, the white one underneath the drone that you see, that we can drop seed pods one by one. So one seed pod at a time. So we're not wasting seeds, and it's not blindly dropping. And the story just starts here. What happened after? After planting, we get our other drone over there and map the area and create a 3D map, and then be able to see a small new Germans as small as 5 centimeters, and be able to report to our customers so they can see the impact they had, and also the carbon, how many trees and how many hectares being planted. Talking about seed pods, it wasn't an easy. Tested more than 200,000 seed pods. Sorry, 200 more than formulas, 1 million seed pods. Got the best one from the lab. Take it to the greenhouse. Got the result to the pilot test in the real world, and in the commercial project that you see that we are in it. And we were able to get 55% seed pod to tree ratio. Its number is 10 times higher than any other aerial seeding in the world. Same time, we were able to offer a more cost-effective, which is $1,000 per hectare for our projects. We're so proud of that, and it wasn't an easy, but we made it easy. The seed pod is patent pending, and we custom make it for each project, so it's not a fixed formula. We visit the site, we make the seed pod based on the site and also the species. And we, for most of our projects, we drop a mixture of trees, shrubs, and native grasses. So biodiversity, that's what we do. And the dispersal mechanism is powered with AI and machine learning. We study the land beforehand with GIS and remote sensing. And then we drop the seed pods one by one. As the drone fly, it makes the call where to drop. We're still more than 200 hectares. It's all going on. After this, we go to Merritt, the Leeton city that you mentioned, Eamon. We're going to be there close by to restore that land. And how it works, we work with First Nations. They provide land. We bring the money, and then we plant at no cost for them. And working with government, this project behind me is with Western Forest Product and Ministry of Forests of British Columbia, and NGOs such as Tree Canada that they supported many of our projects. Myself, I was a tree grower, and my partner is a UA expert, and he's a pilot in flying these drones, and a big team of experts in plant science or mechanical engineering. Our ask, I should have said in the beginning, raising a seed round, a $2 million seed round, and that's going to spend for CapEx, getting more drones, seed pod production. Right now, we can produce 100,000 seed pods per day, and we can expand it, scale it up to 1 million seed pods easily. And yeah, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today, which we are doing it. Thank you so much, and yeah, please scan the barcode or through email, reach out to me.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to acknowledge that reforestation matters in the context of our being able to be ahead of the damage that has been caused by catastrophic wildfires and be able to get into a biodiverse future. Catherine, did you want to take the first question or comment?
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about the competitive landscape? I know there've been other seed planting drones in North America and in Europe, and how do you see yourself compared to them?
Yeah, there are a few players in North America and Brazil, Australia, and some of them they don't have the seed pod technology; they just scatter seeds. Some they have the seed pod. As far as we know, the results we have is 10 times higher than them, and it's all about the seed pod technology and placement. Because we're using hybrid drones, they burn gas, so we can fly with a payload of 10 kg for 60 minutes. So we can drop seed pods one by one rather than scatter them blindly. And placement would be there. And yeah, this is uh, there are uh, maybe 10 companies active in the world. That offering the same service that we offer.
Oh, congratulations on your 55%. That's a really good number.
Thank you. Yeah, it's verified by a third party. We hired a third party DSS, and all the documents are available uh, if you wanted to look at it. We have those reports.
Thank you so much. David Severis, did you want to go next with question or comment? Grateful to include you, and thank you so much.
I was just wondering, how do you develop plant palettes? Like, what do you use to decide what goes where?
You mean by dropping the?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's camera built in on the drone, and we have the AI machine learning the loop, and then as the drone fly, it's a learning process. So it make a call to drop or not to drop. So like back there, it's really a slashy in some parts. So there's no point to drop seed pods because they won't touch the ground and they will die out. Or there's ponds in the middle of this project, so there's no point to drop, and the drone makes the call. We program the drone beforehand, but at the same time, our program is able to make the call to drop the seed pods or not, or skip.
Great. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Josh, would you like to also ask any questions or comments while we have a moment?
Yeah, I was curious on how your seed pods are, dropped. Is it gravity, gravity only? Are they projected or propelled by a mechanism of some type to where you have, better sticking power in the soil?
It's mostly dropping at gravity. You can add like paintball mechanics to shoot it, but it's all weight. So when you talk about UAVs, you want as much as possible to carry. So it's mostly dropping, and the push from the birds. They push the seed pods to the ground. But yeah, there is no shooting mechanism built in on the drone.
Okay, and then another question is, how easily is it to adapt to new areas, like in this case, the United States, different species, that type of thing, as far as your seeding process?
It says we have the technology for making seed pods. So any seeds we can turn it to seed pods, and you just need a production site to be able to produce. But there would be definitely R&D for new sites because we custom make the size of the seed pod, the weight, and also the formula. So we'll do a pilot test, get the best formula, and then take that one for that a specific region and a specific species, and then we can go commercial and drop. This is what is happening right now with Australian government. We just started this in Australia.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I think that Claudia, did you have any last questions or comments that we should attune to before our next?
Yeah, just a question. I mean, it's super exciting what you've got going, and it's very cool to see you in your environment. So thanks for doing that. I was curious, for diversification of the ecosystem, how are you managing that? Because, a lot of times people drop one kind of tree or they're in a line. And how do we line with those natural systems? So I was curious how that's happening. This is cool.
Yeah, of course. I took this video just yesterday.
Great.
We studied the land, and then based on what was there, we make the call to what the species that we can add, and we partner with First Nations, get their knowledge and then their input, and then we source the seeds either from government or local provider, and then we make the seed pods and we target planting. So it can be a mixture of different species in the hopper at the same time that we drop, or it can be the certain points that they will have the most success rate and then drop those in those areas. But it's usually a mixture of trees, shrubs, and grasses. This project that you see, it's 5 different trees and 5 different shrubs that we're dropping.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing more. It's really,
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you. All right, let's up next. We have Rolf Wenzel, CEO of Rainstream, which is the product at Wildfire Innovations. Thank you so much, Rolf.
Thanks very much. Is that all visible?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks very much for the introduction. Thanks very much for the CWPC and Venture Starters for hosting another excellent event. We're introducing mobile rain towers. Our ask is twofold. One is for partnerships in the US for demonstration partnerships, and the other is we're doing a seed round. Okay, just give me. So as we saw in Los Angeles and many other places, it's the embers flying over the heads of frontline firefighters that are causing extreme damage downwind. Our solution is a mobile rain tower. This is the world's first mobile rain tower, and which we just released last October. And this puts out up to 1,000 gallons per minute, covers 7 to 18 acres per swath, and can be deployed in under 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the crew size. So that it operates anywhere from 30 to 60 to 100 feet, 30, 60, 80, and 100 feet in height, depending on wind conditions and targets. And the idea is to turn wind from an enemy into an ally and turn any water source, whether it's natural or hydrant, into rainfall on demand, and fill a very large gap between ground sprinklers and aircraft. Last July on 24th, Jasper, Alberta lost 1/3 of its town to wildfire. They had 36 hours notice. Within 24 hours, they had along the south tip of the town 2 lines of defense. One was large volume water cannons, and the other was ground sprinklers. Again, all ground-based. All the red buildings here were destroyed, again, from embers leaping over the defense lines, and then we had rapid structure-to-structure conflagration after that. Here you can see the rooftops igniting in Jasper, which we see all over North America and the world. And one of the veterans on site said if we'd had our system ready to go, it would have been a very different outcome. So what would that look like? In this case, we put 8 Rainstream units on this, covering about a mile on the south edge. And this would have been a combination of hydrants and natural water feed. And given the ambient wind conditions at the time, we would have been able to mist most of the endangered area. So it's another tool in the toolkit. We're not replacing anything necessarily, but we want to just add a new level of protection. So what we see here is the infrared image. We have both wind assist on the misting, and also on a warm forest on this image, you get a buoyancy from rising warm air. Um, these fires burn at about $1 million a minute based on study we've done, and about $3 to $6 million an acre. Probably more in Malibu, but that's an average. And so each tower could protect $30 to $60 million of buildings per location, and with a payback of about 60x on the first day. Rapid deployment to protect large areas. I think Eamon mentioned Lytton, BC. They had 12 minutes notice, and the town was gone in 20 minutes. They had, I think, ambient temperatures for about 115 degrees C. And what happened there is a spark from a passing train just ignited some brush, and the railway took responsibility for the ignition. So when we talk about being proactive, in a circumstance like that, where risk is that extreme, you may in fact want to deploy a system proactively in advance and just increase the resiliency of that particular community. The other way to look at this is if you've got hydrants, you have to say, well, what's the most effective use of that particular hydrant? How many homes can I protect with that hydrant on a very rapid deployment basis? You may have structural protection units, which take half an hour per home to set up. In this case, you'd be mobilized up and running in under an hour, and get that initial protection on the upwind front of the community. So creating a protective biodome in effect. There's 50 million homes, at least 50 million homes in the U.S. in the wildland urban interface. And again, we're estimating a TAM of about 1.1 billion in Western Canada, Pacific Northwest, looking at regional fire agencies, municipalities, HOAs, and corporations. So if you think again of a town that's got a bit of firefighting equipment, and a small hydrant system, the question becomes again, what's the most effective use of that hydrant to protect the greatest number of homes in a very short period of time? So again, it's just one more tool in the toolkit. You can deploy it as you need it. We are super pleased. We got our first county council vote for budget starting later this year for delivery in 2026. And we've signed a whole bunch of new letters of intent for field testing partnerships with communities, agencies, and corporations. And we're doing numerous demos. I'm actually at a demo site right now, and I have to leave in about 5 or 10 minutes. So we're getting a bit of traction here. Our go-to-market is basically initially Western Canada manufacturing and sales, 2026 moving into the Pacific Northwest and California. And our manufacturing partner locally is in fact already selling equipment in the US of other types and are setting up a shop there. So we have a great partnership there, and then following that, we'll be licensing internationally. So the revenue model is equipment sales. We come in at about half the price of your municipal fire engine. There's a rental model for more sustained revenue, and it's also very much a try before you buy market. So people want hands-on, so that's why this demo season here, it's a lot shorter than it is in California, but we're just getting rolling now and give people some hands-on time with the equipment. So our partnership ask, we're looking for communities in Pacific Northwest or California that want to build ERP scenarios, custom to their community, and we'll provide the unit and trainers on a cost shared basis. The financial ask, we've raised $1 million to date and are looking for between 1.5 to 3. That's to build up the demo fleet, start the rental operation, and again, marketing and sales for demos.
Excuse me, Rolf, we're over the clock. Bobby?
Yes, we can proceed to, are we over the clock with all the questions complete for this one, you mean? So we're to the next presenter, or do we take, oh, Norma, we can't hear you. You're on mute. Sorry. You're on mute, Norma. Sorry.
Okay, I just wanted, no, thank you. Go right ahead. We're 2 minutes over his presentation, so if we
Great.
could move along. Thank you, guys.
Do abbreviated question answer then. Thank you so much, Norma.
Thanks,
This is
Norma.
wonderful.
You're welcome.
I want to acknowledge that there is a theory of change here involved in prehydration. Did you say the range of this? So if there's a community of 250,000 people, would this be on the periphery of that? Is that how to think about this?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
let me see if Josh would like to ask a question at this point or comment.
Thanks, Ralph. That was a great presentation. In context to what we've recently seen in the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire, and even the Lahaina fire, how do you see this being deployed or helping in that wind-driven scenario? And what benefits do you see outside of our existing tactics?
Right. Well, again, getting there early. I mean, the stronger the wind, the further the embers blow, the further the mist will blow. We have, if you're in a LA situation where you've got no water and 100-mile-an-hour winds, then we won't help. But basically, the range of application here, as the wind gets stronger, the lateral shrinks a bit and the distance goes further. So basically the tactic is what's my current wind speed and what's my predicted wind speed? So what kind of overlap do I need between these units? So right now the units can operate in up to 80-mile-an-hour winds at 50-mile-an-hour winds at full height, and then up to 80-mile-an-hour winds at 60 feet in height. So that allows us a lot of flexibility. We can also change the angle of the nozzle, and we can change the arc and pressure. So there's some variables we can play with to optimize for different wind conditions.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, terrific. Let me go to Lyndon now. Lyndon, would you like to weave in next?
Sure, yeah. First off, yeah, I think, and I've been quite skeptical of these kind of water tower solutions. I've seen a number of them, but I really appreciate how honest you guys are going about this, and recognizing one tool in the toolbox, not saying this is the solution. So I just wanted to commend you for that. And also on the rental model, I think that this is a space where there's a lot of products that are out to be sold and kind of a one-off transaction. So I really appreciate that there's an opportunity to have an established connection and just like know the conditions are right. We need to rent something. We need to get the wheels on the ground real quick. So I think that's a really cool thing. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't hear a price tag per unit.
They come in at about $500K.
Okay.
And how many of them would you need to deploy to protect a community that's 250,000 people scale?
About 8 per mile. So you're looking at, say, $4 million. But I mean, for that, you're protecting hundreds of millions of dollars in assets, right off for every line you have.
Got it. Claudia, do you have other questions or comments
yes.
before we run out of time for
Yeah, I was wondering, Ralph, it's really amazing what you've got going there. But how, given the price, I mean, clearly there's a good return on investment. What about the targeting of the communities that could best need this? It seems like there's that would be a big win in terms of that balance between who can pay, but also who's got the most risk. So how are you guys dealing with that?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so basically, if you've got high end, so wealth, water, and risk are sort of the main criteria. Because if you have very high end assets in a concentrated area, then I mean, insurers are, talk to a guy in Malibu who's paying $175,000 a year with $1 million deductibles. So you look at the Aspens of the world and some of the places in Idaho and Colorado and California where you've got, big risk. And so certainly those are early targets.
Thank you. We
I
good?
think we're at the edge of time for this one. So given
Okay.
that, I'd like to hand over to Claudia for our next presenter, but I'd like to acknowledge with gratitude, Rolf, you sharing that. And I think that there's a lot of intriguing potential in exploring this further, and I'd welcome more consideration of it sometime in one of the Wednesday gatherings.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, really exciting. So next up, we have David Harbin, CEO of Inferno Roller Shutters. Yeah, I'm really excited to hear about this one. So thanks, David.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. And thank you, Bobby, Mark, and Norma for setting all this up. It's very exciting to be part of this. My name's David Horobin. I'm CEO of a company called Inferno Roll Shutters. And I'm an architect, and I'm also personally a victim of a fire back in the 1980s in the Santa Cruz Mountains where I lost my house. And I'm here to present to you guys a solution to the biggest problem we have in creating fire-resistant houses. And that is the biggest problem. Actually, let me just hook in my share here. Okay, can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the biggest problem we have is basically fire entering the windows and the doors of a house. And this is a picture of my house up in the Santa Cruz Mountains 5 days after we closed escrow. So I have a very personal relationship to fires here, which caused me to go off and start thinking about what I could do as an architect to prevent this, to do as much as I could to prevent houses burning up in fires. So as I said, the biggest problem we have is windows let fires in when they crack. And according to the California State Fire Marshal's Office, 75% of houses that burn up go because the window cracks from the heat, the fire penetrates, and everything is lost from the inside. When I say everything, it's a real mushrooming effect because we can lose lives. 85 people lost in the Paradise Fire. We lose all our worldly possessions, and we lose our peace of mind, and our lives are completely uprooted. And we have come up with a solution to be able to solve this particular problem. So this is it. Basically, this looks like a conventional roller shutter, and it does all the things that a conventional roller shutter would do, such as security and hurricane mitigation and so on, but with one additional very, very important invention, which is to make this into a fire-resistant shutter. And what it does is it basically automatically comes down in the event of heat getting to a certain point, about 200 degrees in the shade, and the roller shutters come down, and they do two things. They protect the heat from coming in, most of the heat coming in, and that protects the glass from cracking. And then they also seal off any kind of air getting through around the shutters themselves, which means if air can't get through, then flames can't get through. So we have gone through extensive fire testing for this product. We have gone through ASTM testing, which proved basically that we meet at a minimum, we meet 3 times the ASTM test that's required, which means that we give everybody a much greater time, at least half an hour, to get out of a burning structure. We give firefighters an opportunity to go in another 30 minutes to be able to rescue the infirm and the aged, and all all in all prevent those structures from going up and causing inordinate, irreparable harm to people's lives. So when I came up with this idea, which was one of my eureka moments at 3 o'clock in the morning a few years ago, I realized I needed help. Yeah, an idea is a good thing, but I needed help to put it into action. So I joined up with a company that's one of the premier shutter companies in the country, doing it for hurricane and security purposes. And my partner, Glenn, who is the guru of roller shutters, we started this new company, and we're going out there into the market with our first project being installed next week. Controls are a major issue in this whole technology. The automation is important because people want to leave their houses very quickly. So we've devised various ways of automating and ensuring that we have electrical supply for the system. And we brought people on board who are experts in this field, and we have the designs that we need, along with having achieved the lofty position today of having a patent pending on this technology. So in terms of the market is potentially
I
huge.
just wanted to acknowledge, David, that we're a minute over time, so just a little bit quick for the latter part of this so that we can still take
okay.
time for questions.
Yeah, my apologies. We have 8.5 million houses in California in WUI areas, each one of them subject to the whims of the insurance company. And if we take $35,000 average with a 55% margin, we have a winning strategy as far as our company is concerned. So the distribution already basically exists, with companies all over the country installing shutters, which we would tap into. And we're going for a proof of concept from contact with the customer all the way through to completion and education of the customer, which we will be doing over the next few months. And our intention is to interest people in contacting us regarding being involved with the company, in particular in investing. And my contact information is here, my phone number, my email, and also the ability to see what we're up to on our website with sunandsecurity.com. So
thank you so much, David. I want to, with this, acknowledge with gratitude what you've shared and see if we can go to first Josh and then to Catherine on this. Josh,
I think
did you want to
we
offer?
either
Oh,
go
ahead.
to we either gonna go to Lyndon or Catherine right now, Bobby, just so you know.
Oh, go ahead, Lyndon.
I don't have any questions at this time.
I was gonna go to Catherine, and then oh, Josh stepped out. Okay, so I'll go to Catherine.
Thank you. Yeah, this looks really important, and I'm glad to see that that you're building these. What kind of funding are you looking for? Can you talk just briefly about what will be your goals over the next year with this funding?
we're looking for about 750 immediately to get things off the ground, get the company rolling, and start creating we need an automated system to create these shutters. They're being done manually right now, so we want to move into that phase. And then beyond that, in about a year, we're looking for about 2 to 3 million in order to be able to create the factory needed in order to be able to supply what we feel is going to be a huge demand.
Go ahead, Catherine, if you wish.
Yeah, no, thank you. And is the factory, do you think, going to be in California? Is it,
No, factory will be in Arizona, where my partner is right now.
oh, but very good. You won't want to have as much exposure to the, you know, the chaos about some of the imports.
Hopefully not. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Scary thought, though.
So I have a question, David. It looks really nice. I'm impressed that, you know, that it's functional, high function. So, you mentioned, two questions for you. One is you did some testing, right, on the temperature, and I was wondering if you could tell people about that. And the other question I have is, it sounds like you have really good distribution through through the people who will put these up. How are you going to roll out, no pun intended, with consumers and help that process? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so what was the first question again, Claudia? Sorry.
But you can start with the second. I'll come back. You want to start?
Okay, so
Yeah.
in terms of rolling it out, there are hundreds of installers of roller shutters around the country right now. And the beauty of the product is that, as I mentioned before, we are just adding one dimension of fire to existing shutters that you use for hurricanes, that you use for security, and so on. So it's a multifunctional product, which is a real advantage to us getting into the market. And so these installers are experts on what they do. You know, my partner's been relying on these installers for many years. They do a good job. They're highly trained, and we will be training these guys. They will be certified to install these because we take on somewhat of a liability when this is a matter of life or death. And in particular around the controls and so on that we need, which are an integral and a very important part of the process.
Yeah, one of the things I'm seeing is that, you know, the conditions are just getting worse. Like now, all of a sudden, we have 100-mile-an-hour winds, where in 1960 was 50 mile an hour, right? And temperature-wise, can you talk about the testing and why that's so critical? Because you're claiming 600, but you can do more than that, yes?
Oh, absolutely. We actually claim a lot more than that. The way the ASTM tests work is they basically radiate almost 2,000 degrees at this roller shutter from about 3.5 feet, which is an intense amount of heat, I can tell you, because I've stood close to it. And then they test the temperature on the backside with an infrared thermometer, test the temperature on the backside of the shutter, which is the side that faces the glass. So that on the temperature curve went from 72 degrees to 300 degrees literally in about 30 seconds, and it remained at that 300 degrees for the entire 30 minutes of the test. Now the ASTM test is only the minimum of the test is 10 minutes, and we were able to take it to 30 minutes without there being any dramatic increase in the temperature, in the 300-degree temperature. So glass is going to crack, tempered glass is going to crack at around 600 to 650 degrees. And so we can take it way beyond that to the almost 2,000 degrees for that 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I've heard it's about at least 25 minutes that roll through a town. I mean, Lyndon and Josh could correct me on that, so it's pretty quick. Yeah, any other questions? Because we're about out of time.
I think
Lyndon?
we're over time, apparently, but I want to acknowledge with gratitude, David, for you sharing on this dimension of the wildfire collective risk. Thank you. And also acknowledge, Claudia, that we may have to go to the next presenter.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. You know, sometimes this is not little because the remediation that's needed to get homes to be safe is huge. So I want to acknowledge that. All right. Thank you so much. Next presenter is John Booth. I hope I got your name right. CEO of Fior Earth.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. John Buth. So spent the last 15 years running a sustainability hedge fund strategy in New York before coming out to San Diego to try my hand at creating my own disruption. I bought a sustainable paper manufacturing, honestly, for fun. And then I brought in my tech team from New York and asked a question. What can we do with this knowledge and this equipment? The answer is build a completely sustainable, best-in-class erosion control technology that doesn't just resist fire, but it helps restore local ecosystems and sequesters carbon in the process. So fire this guy up. Okay. You see that all right?
Yep.
Okay. So we're here today with a high functioning beta version of this product on the cusp of commercialization. We started with old school paper making equipment, basically think a giant blender for fibers and 30 years of recycled paper process knowledge. We asked our trained AI, what else can we do? The first output was soil stabilization. So we spent a couple months digging deeper and we realized we could do a lot more. The benefit of having this equipment on hand is we could rapidly prototype. So we quickly developed a fire-resistant erosion cover tailored for the realities of California's landscape. AI helped us build the formula, and we tested it and tuned it ourselves in the field. The key ingredients, it's a synergistic formula, so everything works together, and it's really important for the material to hold moisture in the soil. But we maxed out magnesium hydroxide and gypsum, both known fire-resistant agents. They work together with the rest of this cocktail of fiber matrix to maintain moisture in the soil and resist heat directly. The magnesium draws on ambient water like a little sprinkler system, and the gypsum shields from thermal breakdown. All the ingredients are really low cost, readily available. The anecdote I like to throw around is there's 600 million pounds of recycled office paper just coming through Southern California. That amount of waste office paper alone in our product could cover all of the key fire break areas in California. We engineered it to be a drop-in product for existing erosion control, but tailored for fire resistance. And this is just the beginning. We can adapt the formula in real time. We can produce on demand. We can tailor it for specific fire, soil, and ecological profiles. And that's the company, Fiore Earth. We have trials underway right now, local universities, University of California, Irvine, University of San Diego. We'll have our commercial lab testing for key ASTM, EPA, and California regulatory standards done hopefully by the end of May. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Would love to connect, explore pilot opportunities, and plant the seeds for scale. I know I'm way under time, but it's a really simple product, right? Like we just take all of this recycled waste office paper, it's abundance everywhere. It's $100 a ton. We put it in a blender. We had a cocktail of stuff that's readily available, and we just engineer it using AI to achieve maximum impact in, I mean, fire is the first function, but there's 15 other functions behind it. This is just, obviously the most pressing for our communities in the state.
Could you walk us through for a moment just what is the theory of change for wildfire for this product?
Sorry, say it again.
How does this help the wildfire sector in transformation in a way that I just want to have that in summary for folks?
Yeah, sure. So there's so many areas, fire break areas, kind of the obvious one, but you can put this surrounding communities. So we're talking to HOAs. There's state responsibility areas where it's kind of it's the Spider-Man meme, just pointing who actually is responsible for managing this area. We built this. You can put it, obviously use it as erosion control, but this stuff blasts out of a high viscosity hose and just spray it. It's really easy. You can put it anywhere. You can have direct to consumer. You can have state agencies. You can have utilities. It's really easy, because the other interesting part of it is we engineered this to be a complete drop-in solution for hydromulch. So 1 pound of this stuff can absorb 15 to 16 times its weight in water. So like, you got like a little brick of this stuff, it just hydrates and expands like a sponge, but it's It's kind of like play with slime with your kids. It's like that, but it's
That's
the best
fascinating to
possible
understand better.
spitball for the landscape.
That's fascinating to understand better. I'm really grateful for that clarification and contextuality. Let me see if Lyndon would like to ask question or comment, and then we'll go to Catherine, and then back to Claudia.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty cool idea there. So if I understand correctly, you could, for instance, apply this from the air as well, like from drones, for instance,
Yeah, I mean,
or
you could. It's really dense. So I think the best format is, I mean, you could do it from drone. We built it to basically, traditional hydro mulch is virgin wood fiber, non-biodegradable synthetic water absorbent material in a dye, right? This does the exact same thing, exact same characteristics, but it's completely local and completely sustainable with fire resistance. So
and
you
so
fill it
then
into a tank on a truck, you put a ton of water in there, mix it up, and blast it out of a hose.
but if you were to do, for instance, a dry application and then fly over with water.
You could do that too. Yeah, you could absolutely
Okay.
do that. It's a question of payload because it's really dense. I mean, we use so we have two elements of developing it. So it's this giant blender to blend up the pulp, and then we have a high shear mixer to homogenize it. So you look at it, and it's completely consistent. If you try to squeeze it, you can't get the water out because it's perfectly blended.
And to get an idea of like how many pounds do you need to treat per acre or hectare or whatever's.
Yeah, so think of it this way, with um, it is 600 million pounds. If we took all of the recycled office paper coming through Southern California, we could cover about, let's call it 500 to 750,000 acres at about a quarter of an inch to half an inch in depth. And we also embed native grass and flower seeds in it. So it really anchors quickly and it immediately starts it's soil remediation, but it locks in the water, which then is available in the event that you need kind of that sprinkler effect.
Those are some big numbers. What if I'm a homeowner?
So you just do the math. It's like, what is that? 1,000 pounds for an acre.
1,000 pounds per acre. Okay. And that's with water added, or that's just the
No,
dry
that's just
component?
1,000 pounds of the material. Like,
Okay.
is it 1,000 pounds of dried material, which is how we would sell it. It can be rehydrated to, 1,000 pounds of material is going to be 15,000 pounds of hydrated material.
Okay. And have you guys been doing, on the ground trials yet? Or are you still
Yeah, so
in laboratory?
I have I test new variants of it in my backyard every day. That's the fun part of it. Right now, I have some beautiful poppies growing out of the stuff that I put out there a month and a half ago. We have the University of California, Irvine doing some tests for us focused on function of the product, but also carbon sequestration potential. University of San Diego is doing kind of a more fulsome evaluation of its performances and environmental remediation and erosion control. And then we also have the commercial tests going on concurrently.
Okay, thanks.
Catherine, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so you mentioned today's hydro mulch. Do you sort of see yourself as a competitor or replacement to that? Or there's also sort of a green field that your competition is people not doing this at all, and you're saying to them, hey, here's a multi-factor solution that you can add in where you haven't been thinking about it at all.
Yeah, I wanted to build a really kind of multifunctional utilitarian solution where I can displace the incumbent on just erosion control. I can produce it for cheaper, it works better, but then you get all these other features basically for free. There's really only a couple of big erosion control, hydro mulch manufacturers in the US, and they're all on the East Coast. It's all really not environmentally friendly. So goal one was we need to build this in a way where we can beat them. But then if we can also, and this is where the power of AI just makes my head explode because we're like, man, we can do that, but then we can add all these other features and we can do it at the same price point. It's it's multifunctional at a really low price.
Right. So people who are doing remediation after fire would be able to go in here and think primarily about the erosion control.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 15 different variants of this that we can make. We haven't tested it yet, but we think that we can do it for like hazardous waste sites. We can do it for kind of agriculture, preventing kind of synthetic fertilizer runoff. There's just there's many applications of it, 15 that we've identified so far. This is just the most interesting and pressing one, and since we're in California, it was our focus to help our own community first.
Well, I could see weed block being of a lot of interest to people, and of course, if you can stop the weeds, then you're stopping a lot of fire material as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we saw, not only in Aldercroft, but going out to Occidental, is the need for to prevent erosion, right? Which I think is one of the main things that you've been looking at, right? So I'm curious, how you can best help. There's so many places where you can approach, and you've talked about a few, but that ability to capture water is so huge. And how do you think you can best, I mean, you've talked about ways, but how can we best go out to communities and the places that need it the most?
I mean, it's part of why I'm here, right? Like this is a long sales cycle business where it requires a lot of education because we're trying to invent a new product category. This just isn't erosion control. I tested it in my yard and I put a perimeter of this stuff around my yard. And in a month, we can tailor the mix of the seeds that are in it. And it's just like a bouquet of poppies and ornamental grasses around my yard that also have fire resistant capabilities. So there's a ton of applications, but it's how do we teach the community about this? How do we teach utilities, municipalities? God forbid the state of California kind of understands what we're actually doing instead of buying the unsustainable stuff from Illinois, right? Like it's a long sales cycle, and so my hope in presenting is right now we have pilot scale. We can very easily, with $1 million of capital, go 100x in production capacity because everything is modular and really easy to build. It's like off-the-shelf blenders and mixers. We just need a warehouse and a blender and a mixer, and we just have trucks come in with the stuff, we blend it up and ship it out, right? It's really easy. But the hardest part of it is educating, like, what is this? How does it work? How can it, and it can do a lot of things, which can confuse people. So been trying to focus on, okay, right now, fire resistance, erosion control with a little bit of environmental remediation. And then, once we develop the market, we can talk about all the other stuff.
Amazing.
John, this is Ramesh. Quick question. Are you looking at distribution through like the Home Depots and the other big box players?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question like, what's the best go-to-market strategy? Like, because right now I have a 4,000 square foot facility where I have my paper business, and this is kind of like R&D lab scale going to prototyping, and with the team of 10, fulfillment on D2C, it's quite challenging. And so the question is like, with the resources I have, I need to kind of prove concept, get enough initial traction on sales. I would love this to be a D2C because I think you can just buy a bucket of it, put water in it and just like spray it around your house. Really easy solution. But with the resources I have at the moment, like if I focus D2C first, I'm killing myself on fulfillment.
Yeah, I would just give you a 2 cents if I can. Is
hold on.
I just wanted the formal conclusion here momentarily. So there could be an informal discussion here after, but I wanted to hand over for Claudia's final words. I just wanted to, for my part, say thanks to everyone who took the time to present today and listen and learn to the future of wildfire prevention, and looking forward to weaving folks in to our collaborative community. With that, I'm going to hand over to Claudia for conclusion, and folks can stay on informally and talk.
Yeah, I can't thank you all enough. I'm so impressed with all the people. And thank you to the audience for your participation and involvement. Yeah, we didn't get a next date. We usually do. So we'll get back to you. It's about 2 months till we have our next one. And we would love for people to get more involved. And you hopefully saw in the chat that we've been having different ways to get involved, whether you want to present or you want to get into the field and the communities, or you want to come to the Wednesdays. We've had so much, all the people that you saw on our panel came from the 12 o'clock meetings on Wednesdays. They've all gotten to know each other and work together. And so there's a lot of power in this network. And we really want to accelerate it and grow it and get all these innovations out there. So I can stay. I think Bobby's got to jump and a couple of people had to go. But if you guys want to talk and stay for a little bit, I don't know what Norma's schedule is. Norma, is that possible, or do you need to jump also?
No, it's okay for you guys to stay. I just do want to say one or two things regarding the Venture Starters group. A lot of our people are in the audience also. Thank you guys for attending. Thank you, Claudia and Bobby, and all of the people who spoke on the progress and the process of trying to help America and other countries as well with this horrible problem we have with wildfires. So thank you guys for what you're doing. And we're very happy to be a part of this. We look forward to what you're doing in the future. I did want to mention that next week we have our life science event. So please, all the Venture Starter peoples and anyone else that would like to attend, please come and watch that and be a part of that. And I will go right ahead, guys. You can continue to talk, but let's not make it too long. But thank you very much for doing this, and good luck to all of you.
Well, I just want to say, Norma and Mark and your staff, thank you so much. It just couldn't be happening without you and all your support and commitment. Yeah, why don't we just hold another 15 minutes and cap it? Does that sound like a
great?
Good
that sounds great. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, there's still a bunch of people here, so if anyone has any comments.
I just wanted to give the feedback to John. I know he dropped. Is he still here?
Still here.
Hi, John. So I was listening to your story. I think it's great. And you talked about your constraints, and I've done other businesses where, when you have that kind of situation, it sounds like you have a little blueprint. It's working with your limited resources. Sometimes limitations can be a blessing. I'm a believer of that. And you can take that blueprint and just federate that, go to market. Okay. And I'm happy to spend some time talking to you and sharing. If you want to brainstorm, I'm happy to help you with that. Just no expectations. Just wanted to, because I think that's something you can take it as a sidetrack and then find opportunities to co-develop or partner with the big box players, because they may want a distribution production capacity for their markets. If you're able to get that up and running, maybe you need one resource to build that side of the business on your side. I was just thinking you might be able to approach it, depending on how much is on your plate at this point.
Oh, thanks so much. We'd love to follow up with you on that.
Hey, John, I just wanted to jump in real quick, and another potential use case. You got my mind spinning on it. And one is when you talk about the weed barriers, is invasive species. So invasive weeds, especially, or which are, the most flammable and most prevalent. And we're really trying to, convert them back into a natural or native plant. So that might be something too, is an invasive species conversion kit, I guess you might say, to where you're suppressing the invasive weeds, but you're introducing the native plants back. So, and also I'm just curious, it looks like your business model, you have some existing, like hydro mulch, you can actually probably jump in right now, and even a couple other ones, erosion control especially. But like even in the wildfire space, there's contracts for, a similar type hydro mulch and or a retardant that you might look at in existing contracts, whether it's the Forest Service or I'm not sure if CAL FIRE has any or not, but that might be another route as far as maybe certifications that you go for and used for suppression efforts.
Well, thank you so much for that. The invasive weed one is really interesting because we can kind of always tweak the formula so that we can target specific functions. That's not something we'd explored yet, so we'll explore that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think this is Catherine. Just generically, with situations like this, I always love seeing how versus why conversations that go on, because a lot of times, founders and other experts, can deeply understand why something needs to be done, or they understand how it can be done. But the moving back and forth between how and why comes through brainstorming sessions and events just like this one, where you're having people who are looking at it and saying, okay, if that's possible, here's what I could use it for. So I, again, appreciate all of you who've presented your startups here today, because I think a lot of people are going to be waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with even more ideas.
Cassandra here, tuning in without visual. I've worked for NASA on and off for 8 years on the Earth System Science, which is 27 Earth-facing projects. I have to say that today's been really inspirational, but I also wanted to share the cross dissemination of these ideas today. For instance, John's recent idea from San Diego really ties in nicely with the fire game as a tool, right? As like one more like kind of weapon in your toolkit. And it also makes me wonder if there's ways of proof of concept for a lot of these through things like gaming. And finally, John, from a San Diego standpoint, with home court advantage of universities down there, if you had a tie-in, I think you'd get a really great white paper out of that could be published and get global recognition.
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, we're pushing as quickly as we can. I mean, the gating item is the testing. We need to have the toxicity testing. One of the benefits of recycled paper in California is that there's already standards to prevent kind of toxic inks or heavy metal inks, but we need to make sure that what's in there is actually safe. So the lab is doing that testing for EPA as well as kind of the rest of the traditional erosion control ASTM certifications. But we're already talking to HOAs in the San Diego area, and we're really just trying to find somebody to go out there and really field test it, because right now it's universities.
John, could you talk about the price point? If I had an acre that I wanted to get the 1,000 pounds of this for, I
gotta do the math real quick, but we've been thinking about, so my understanding of hydromulch is the really cheap stuff, like bad stuff, is 50 cents a pound. It costs us 20 cents a pound to make. With our janky, I mean, we got like mixers from Amazon right now, right? So our costs can be super low, especially if we scale to industrial facilities. So I think 10 to 20 cents a pound is probably where costs shake out. I think we can do, given the additional functionality, it's kind of like a higher end erosion control product in areas where it's not just pure erosion control function. I'm thinking $1 to $1.50 per pound, and then if we think that it's 1,000, what did I say earlier? 1,000 pounds an acre. So you're looking at you could standard size house in Southern California. Maybe it's and I have to check myself on the math, but you could cover an entire property for like $2,000.
John, I dropped you a message in the chat, but I'd be really interested to connect further and also give you some use cases over here in Europe. One of the problems we're seeing increasingly is pretty extreme fires in the Alpine region, which of course is a major concern for erosion, because oftentimes there's villages and towns underneath. that's one use, and I could list off a bunch of others as you can imagine, but would love to connect further and get you guys out here maybe to test in different contexts.
Absolutely. Actually, ironically, I've been talking to a Finnish EPC about, as nobody knows fiber better than the Scandinavians. So I've been talking to the Finnish EPC about what a scaled facility looks like. So it's it is all modular, and as long as you have a source of really cheap fiber, it's something that you can make pretty much anywhere and make it localized.
Great.
Can I ask you about your fungi? Where you're sourcing your mycelium from?
Yeah, right now it's nature seed, so I'm trying to keep the supply chain as local as possible. At a certain scale, there starts to be challenges in like seed actually becomes the biggest challenge because there's just not enough seed out there to do. If you wanted to cover 1 million acres in California, there's not enough wholesale seed out there to really do it. But the mycelium from Nature Seed, like, it's scalable probably up to 50 to $100 million of revenue. Outside of that, you got to diversify suppliers a lot.
And it seems like, landscapes change, right? So probably have to tailor it in some ways, I think.
Yeah, that's the fun part is there's lots of seed companies, and most of the active ingredients in the cocktail is just, these are really naturally occurring pervasive minerals, right? And it's, we got biochar in there, we got, kaolin clay, bentonite clay, like there's a lot of, these are commonly available, super cheap, and just, mix them up and they work together nicely.
If I could real quick, and I don't know if it's okay with the person I'm going to call out, but I want to try to see if Chief Zagaris could chime in here. I would hate to waste his seasoned experience and just in this whole space. So, Chief, if you're willing to just kind of speak on whether it's John's solution or what you saw today, I would love to share your input with these folks. And Chief is also, he's one of the board of directors for the Western Fire Chiefs as well. So if you're there, I'd love for you to jump in. If not, no worries, I understand.
Yeah, some current conversation's really good. It's got a lot of potential. I think at the end of the day, one of the things that I honestly believe is that having partners that you can partner up, try not to do it all on your own, but finding like vendors that you can work with that have a similar interest. And I would share, we listened to the one on, reforestation and this capability. Those are where relationships and partnerships come about. And there's other people that are out there, but it's always good to see who else is in the space. I'd actually agree with the discussion that, not only good for, runoff and maybe, trying to deal with the contamination issues. I think there's a lot of good potential here in this particular subject. Again, it's really about finding the right partners that you can, work with back and forth to get you there. Seeds, our partners over at CAL FIRE have been very actively working on more seeds and more seedlings and those things. I would tell you, I think our federal partners are struggling, not because they don't want to. I think it's all about budget and more leadership and more push out of the federal elected officials to get us to where we need to go. But that's what I would actually share in this particular issue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. A question for you on, being so close to the recent fires, one of the biggest issues out of the erosion of, everything that's happened is the hydrophobic soils that have just been, completely torched, super high temperatures, and now they're basically water resistant. They're also super prone to mudslides and flooding. Those, trying to find an opportunity to do a test on a hydrophobic soil in and around your area, I think would be super beneficial. And even trying to pull in even like a Caltrans officials, if Cal Fire, those folks, but because those are all obviously the biggest concern right now after the fire, and probably one of the easiest lifts as far as getting into the fire space. That's what my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, Josh, it's also tying back in with those homeowners and some of the groups that are looking at rebuilding and, talking with them about this particular issue is, finding a couple homeowners that, need, willing to try something and getting it out there is I think a big key to marketing, or, at least testing your product as well.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Claudia. I think we're over our 15 minutes now. I wanted to tell everyone thank you so much for joining us and being a part of this. And thank you, Claudia and Bobby. You guys are doing amazing things. And everyone that's involved with your group, thank you so much for attending. Is it okay if we go ahead and end this one now? Are we ready?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
Lyndon, Josh, Catherine, David and crew, and David and David.
Maybe a quick reminder you can download the chat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hit the 3 dots and you can download the chat.
And come to our site, you guys. You can sign up to get on lists and things like that. I'll put it in right now. But hopefully you've been seeing that in throughout. But we're going to have all of these innovations and all the recordings. We have a web page that's going up hopefully in the week. I always say that, but we're volunteers. So all of these recordings will be available. So thanks, Norma, again.
Right, you're welcome. And it will also be on Venture Starters, but it probably will be a few days before we can get it up. But yes, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for being a part of this. And let's all work together to fix this problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Norma.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye.